Welcome to the ATA's Segment Steward online training session, Introduction to Stewardship Volume 1. This series is intended to provide basic training to Arizona Trail volunteers who want to get started working with the ATA but may not have the opportunity to attend an in-person training in the short term. Hi, I'm Wendy Lotz. I'm the Volunteer Program Manager for the Arizona Trail Association, and I'm going to be narrating these training sessions. I'm also a volunteer trail steward, and like you, there are many things I'd rather be doing rather than sitting inside staring at a computer screen. So I thought I'd throw up a picture of myself with the hope that maybe we can imagine ourselves instead under a beautiful Arizona sun on a gorgeous piece of trail, just talking about segment stewardship for a few minutes. Are you with me? Do you have the image in your head? Cool. Before we get too far, I want to take a moment and thank you for volunteering with the Arizona Trail Association. As I'm sure you can imagine, maintaining more than 800 miles of trail across Arizona through some of the wildest and most remote places in the state is really a massive undertaking. Segment stewards are our frontline troops in the ongoing effort to keep this trail meeting our mission as a unique encounter with the land. It takes hundreds of volunteers and thousands of hours each year, and without leaders like you, it just wouldn't be possible. When you agree to a 3-year term as a segment steward, you're essentially donating a resource which is both precious and irreplaceable, your time. In a busy world, we recognize the value of this resource, and we're thankful that we're supported by so many dedicated individuals. Just to give you a quick overview of what we plan to cover here, we're going to start by reviewing the ATA's Steward Agreement and what that contract covers. Then we'll give you a quick introduction to the Arizona Trail Association itself and how the organization operates as a whole. Finally, I'll cover a few training opportunities that we have for volunteers and segment stewards besides these online content modules. If you're watching this video, you're probably considering becoming a segment steward and you want to learn more about what might be expected of you as a leader volunteering with the Arizona Trail. We developed the Steward Agreement to be a tool that helps volunteers and the ATA both understand how to best work together to achieve our common goals, supporting the trail community. The agreement outlines a system that we have found allows for the development and maintenance of the trail and for those who travel on it, and which empowers volunteers to make the most of their energies. At the top of the agreement, you'll see the statement I agree to, followed by a number of bullet points. Each of these bullet points is an important responsibility of segment stewards. The most important duty is to monitor the condition of your given segment. You're essentially our eyes and ears on the trail, and as you get to know your segment better, you'll be able to identify potential problems before they can become a safety hazard. We like to think that stewards travel on their piece quarterly, but at least twice per year. This helps them to get a better idea of how the passage looks in different seasons and how it's faring over time. Completing the ATA annual assessment and plan each year is a part of this process, not only as a way for you to think about and document what you see on the trail, but also as a reporting tool which helps the organization have a better idea of the conditions on the trail regionally and statewide. While I've yet to meet many other trail enthusiasts who are huge fans of doing paperwork, I do encounter trail users who appreciate a well-monitored and maintained trail. Luckily, with training, the process can be relatively painless, and the most enjoyable part, traveling your passage, takes the bulk of the time. Any unsafe conditions or needed improvements should be reported to your regional steward or the appropriate land management agency. This way we can help to begin developing a plan for how to repair the problem or address the larger issue. The more serious issues may need to be reported before the next cycle of the annual assessment and plan, particularly if they make the trail dangerous or block travel for trail users. Simple maintenance concerns, such as an overgrowth of that Arizona evil known as catclaw, or your whole passage disappearing in deep grass, may not need to be reported at all. Many such issues you may choose to resolve on your own. You'll quickly get a feel for what you're looking at on the trail and what constitutes an all-hands-on-deck situation. When there is a routine maintenance need identified, stewards coordinate activities to help resolve them. This may be as simple as you heading out on your segment armed with a pair of loppers and some personal protection equipment, or it may be a weekend work event complete with campout, potluck, and 20 hardworking and potentially dirty volunteers. Whether you're an event planner at heart or reclusive by nature, you'll have the training, equipment, and logistical support you need to get the job done. Segment stewards should become the most knowledgeable person about their piece of trail. Traveling it regularly and paying close attention to trail conditions, water sources, and access puts you in the best position to answer questions that may come up from trail users and the general public. Particularly at the beginning of thru-hiker season, questions come in from responsible users who want to be prepared for their trip. This is also a great chance to brag on your passage and pass on your copious wisdom about the not-to-be-missed pieces of the trail. Bragging is totally within the rights of an Arizona Trail steward. An Arizona Trail steward should also be conscientious about tracking and recording the time that they spent on any of these duties or other tasks that they do for the trail. As we'll cover in a later training session, volunteer time has great value to the trail and to the Arizona Trail Association. Tracking your time and the time of volunteers that you engage on the trail is an essential part of being a steward. We'll have more about how to do that in the next video session. Below the Steward Responsibilities is a part of the agreement that outlines what the ATA as an organization promises in support of the stewards. In addition to the training opportunities we'll discuss later, the ATA also promises to foster a community for stewards in order to sustain a supportive network. We all realize how much more we can accomplish as a team and how the physical and moral support of our peers can make a daunting task seem manageable. Nowhere is this more true than 3 miles in from a trailhead when facing a solid wall of manzanita, or down at the bottom of a canyon trying to work out how to keep the trail from washing away again. Working with land managers and supported by ATA staff and volunteers, you'll be able to tame that manzanita wall and tackle that problem drainage with confidence and skill. The mission of the Arizona Trail Association is to protect, maintain, enhance, promote, and sustain the Arizona Trail as a unique encounter with the land. The association has evolved and grown just like the trail has, but the essence of its mission has remained the same. The concept for the trail began in 1985 when Dale Shewalter, a math teacher from Flagstaff, envisioned a single trail across Arizona, traversing some of the wildest and most scenic parts of the state. From the dedication of the first segment in 1988, it took 24 years before the trail was completed, and even today, constant adjustment and improvement of that route continues. The trail was designated a National Scenic Trail by Congress in 2009 and awarded federal protection, though ensuring and enforcing that protection requires at times vigilance and at other times plain old Western stubbornness. The ATA was essentially an all-volunteer organization until about 2010, and though a few staff positions have been created in key areas, the vast majority of the work is still performed by our dedicated and skilled pool of volunteers. If one were to develop a trail sign for the Arizona Trail Association and its organization from a stewardship perspective, it might look something like this. The ATA is steered by the volunteers on the board, along with our executive director, Matt Nelson. There are a number of programs operated by the ATA, including administration and membership development, tracking of geographic data on the trail and GIS, and the Seeds of Stewardship, which is a youth outreach program aimed at engaging young people to become tomorrow's trail stewards. The volunteer program and trail operations work together closely to monitor and maintain the trail and to coordinate projects to improve it. This includes myself as the volunteer program manager, the trail operations director, Sean Redfield, and our trail director, Zach McDonald. You probably already know that the AZT has been divided into 43 passages, and these passages have been grouped into 7 regions. The regional stewards are essentially volunteer supervisors who not only recruit and help train stewards, but also work as liaisons between the stewards, trail operations team, and the land managers to coordinate projects throughout the region. These folks are focused on big picture and identifying problems on a larger scale, and they should serve as a great resource to individual stewards. There are approximately 150 segment stewards, each with passages ranging from 4 to 10 miles in length. This team keeps the organization grounded and constantly brings us back to the importance of that actual piece of dirt that is the trail. While this chart may be a good tool for explaining the relative duties within the ATA, it should perhaps be viewed with wavy glasses or through a hazy filter. It's not a hierarchy, and often folks step into more than one role, up, down, back, forth, sideways, do-si-do. We all share the same mission, and we're working together to get the job done. While we certainly hope that these training videos give you a good introduction to all of the many aspects of being a trail steward, we recognize that they really fall short of what you can learn with in-person, in-depth, and on-trail learning experiences. Everything's better when it's done on the trail, right? Twice a year, we hold stewardship conferences, and this is where we gather as many segment stewards as we can into one room and talk about issues that are impacting the trail at the time. We swap war stories and sometimes even develop agency-wide strategies. Some of the greatest minds in trail maintenance can be found in this room, and it's always a great learning experience both for newbies and for experienced trail dogs. The conferences also highlight the various gateway communities along the trail and give everyone a chance to work on different pieces of the trail throughout the state. We pair these with a volunteer appreciation event and strive to recognize the hard work of all ATA volunteers with a fun celebration, usually centered around good food and great people. The ATA is also teamed up with trail professionals from Flagline Trails to present our Hands-On Trail Skills Institute. These sessions allow participants to get their hands dirty while learning valuable skills at the same time. The experienced instructors have thousands of hours of experience and bring an in-depth knowledge of arid lands trail design and maintenance to our volunteers. Content includes everything from basic trail reading and maintenance to construction of stone structures and new trail layout. Stewards receive a special discounted rate on these trainings, which are offered at multiple times and in different locations throughout the year. We encourage our volunteers, crew leads, and stewards to participate in wilderness first aid courses, and we're often able to team up with various organizations to offer opportunities at low or no cost. While we strive to always be incident-free on our projects, there's never a substitute for being well prepared, even if you're just out hiking, biking, riding, goofing off, or generally frolicking on your own. The ATA is working to develop Sawyer Training so that our volunteers can be safe removing larger trees from the trail corridor using tools such as the crosscut saw. Particularly if your segment is in a forested area or a recent burn scar, this training can be a big help to keeping you independent and safe as you keep the trail clear. And our volunteer vacations program is an excellent opportunity to get an immersive training experience with week-long projects that often take on more substantial issues than might be solved in a single-day work event, even with the most stubborn and ambitious crew leaders. There are a few different ways you can learn about upcoming training opportunities. First, you can always check the quarterly steward letter, in which I try to highlight upcoming courses and conferences in between stories about how great our stewards are. Also, you can check the website. If you go under the Get Involved tab, you'll find a link to the Trail Skills Institute and a schedule for those opportunities. Keeping an eye on what's going on in the calendar can help you plan your busy trail season. By checking the event calendar found under the Events tab, you can get a glimpse of more activities going on with the Arizona Trail. Speaking of a very busy trail season, we won't keep you any longer with this particular session. We'll continue delving into the joys of being an ATA steward with future videos where we'll discuss reporting your volunteer hours, both yours and those who participate in your events, the ATA event calendar, how and why to get your activities on it. Later we'll talk about how to monitor your segment and what to report there. And then communicating with trail users. There's a few things that we think stewards should know to make that a little bit easier. Thanks once again for taking this little trip with me and for your interest in becoming a volunteer on the Arizona National Scenic Trail. We're sure that this is the beginning of a great adventure for both of us, with horizons that we can't even imagine looming ahead. Thank you also for enduring this time in front of a computer screen. Let's try to meet in person really soon, preferably on some beautiful piece of the Arizona Trail.